Welcome to the ultimate Tolkien tournament. This is Middle-earth Madness. Welcome back to the second night of the second round of the Races of Middle-earth Summer Tournament, otherwise known as Rome, if you like acronyms. We are joined here tonight again by Engine Chief. Engine Chief, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, fine, thank you. I fell into third place in the scoring, as you'll probably get to, but
yeah, Team Evil fallen by one spot just based on one night of data.
That's right.
Could close the gap tonight. Actually, I don't know if you can. Well, yes, one evil character is fighting tonight, as we will see in just a sec here. That would be the Barrow White. Spoiler alert. But first, as you see the bracket here, let's fill you in on last night's results. And just as a reminder to anyone, you can always go to top right of the website here. We're on middleearthmadness.com. Go to the events page to see, schedule of upcoming fights, but also it'll link you to our YouTube page, and all the fights are edited into, 2 to 5 minute videos. We had an 8-minute video last night. Raging death match, 8 minutes long, with our 2 1 seeds, Glorfindel against Durin. That was highly exceptional. Usually these are between 2 to 5 minutes fights, closer to 2 typically. So anyway, that was a cool one, though. Outlier. But last night, we had Bod defeated by Balin, getting another win for the Dwarves, who so far are the leading race in this tournament. And we'll dive a little further into that in a second when we show our scoreboard. Tonight, we have Galadriel taking on Faramir. And if we switch sides, last night, Thranduil was able to slay Ugluk, and he will advance to take on the winner of Aragorn and Elrond. But tonight, right below him, in our battle of the 6 seeds, we have Thrain against the Battle White. So, before we get to that, let's take a quick look at our scoring. Here you see in the blue, that's just standard bracket scoring. Who picked the most correct games, outcomes of fights, right? And Engine Chief, top line, Jewy 22nd.
July, yeah.
That means July. No biggie, but that's funny. Jewy 22nd. Yeah. But anyway, the blue is games, just correct outcomes chosen by our players, listed at the bottom there. And then the orange at the top are bonus points for the race that you're playing as, elves, dwarves, men, or evil creatures, scoring additional bonus points on top of those correct picks. And when you combine the two, Chucky's in the lead, with 9 correct picks in the bracket and 7 bonus points, because he is Team Dwarves. In second place, looks like Hanti has a strong bracket with 10 correct picks, but also 10 correct points for picks. Picks in this round are worth 2 instead of 1. It goes exponentially. But then 5 bonus points for elves. And then third place, Engine Chief, with tied for the best bracket, but unfortunately, evil creatures not able to score as many wins and score as many bonus points so far. But still a little bit better than men, represented by Patty Man. And he's got 9 correct picks with 4 bonus points for the race of men.
And you should maybe say that this could be cumulative. Like if the dwarves continue to win, not only do they have 7 points there, but they have all these guys surviving to fight in future rounds where
Yep.
each fight's worth 4. So
Yep.
that 7 could really expand here if things carry on as they are.
Yep. Well said. Well said. Yep. So it becomes more of an advantage the better you do. But of course, you still all you need is 1 at the end of the day, because if you have a member of your race getting those late bonus points for the Final Four in the championship, where they're worth whatever it is, 8 and then 16. My math is correct, or 4 and then 8. 8 and then 16. That's probably going to do it for you. But I defer to Engine Chief on the math problems. So tonight, our first fight of the evening. 2 very popular characters from the Lord of the Rings. Third Age heavy hitters, although Galadriel, on your left there, is technically in all 3 ages of the story, starting out as one of the Noldor that crossed over the grinding ice of Helcaraxe in the First Age to inhabit Beleriand on behalf of the House of Finarfin. So her big brother, of course, was Finrod Felagund, the founder of Nargothrond, and the owner originally of the Ring of Barahir, an elven ring with twin devouring serpents and a green jewel, which of course he famously gave to Barahir, hence the name of the ring, when Barahir bailed him out in the northern marches of Beleriand in wars against Sauron and Morgoth. And then that ring passed down from Barahir to Beren. Beren, of course, marries Luthien, creating not only the line of the half-elven race, but ultimately Aragorn's line as well. And that heirloom of Beren's house ends up being passed all the way down through Arathorn and Elrond, all the way to Aragorn. So, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, Lord of the Rings style, right? But anyway, obviously Galadriel, big-time character, needs no real deep dive in Lordor, other than just to say, she's the keeper of one of the 3 elven rings, the Nadia, the ring of adamant, and she uses that to make Lothlorien in the Third Age one of the last great strongholds of the elven race. Faramir, meanwhile, son of Denethor, brother of Boromir, captain of the Rangers of Ithilien in the Third Age, and as Engine Chief likes to talk about, the coolest character in the Civ 2 Lord of the Rings game back in the day. He was purely special ops in that game, like a paratrooper. In fact, he was literally modeled after the Civ 2 paratrooper unit. You could kind of fly him across the river, and he could do damage behind enemy lines, usually in Ithilien, or Pelagir, or even in the mountains of Mordor. And then you got to bail him out with a boat to get him back to safety before the cavalry comes in. Awesome Lord of the Rings game. Awesome character in that Lord of the Rings game. Is that still playable anywhere, by the way, or do you need some sort of emulator to play that one?
I have it, although there were different versions of it, and the later versions have better graphics, but how to describe it? It's a different setup, so Faramir isn't as wonderful in the version I've got.
Yeah, you almost need to play the original on an old computer or an old operating system, or get an emulator. If someone knows about that one, though, drop it in the comments. The internet always knows some trick that we don't, right? So drop it in the comments if you have access or know how to get access to Civ 2 mod Lord of the Rings. Forget if it was called something else, Battle of the Third Age or the War of the Ring, right, Dad?
I think I could look it up as we talk, but I think it might be called War of the Ring.
Cool. Anyways, we digress. First fight of the night, Galadriel against Faramir. You might say, correctly, that this should perhaps be a beatdown, right? If we're going raw power of the character, you see here both are 5 seeds. If we're going raw power of the character, both in terms of the lore or in terms of just the realistic potential of both characters, Galadriel is going to win this fight more often than not. However, I want everyone to see, as we pull up the character cards here, what actually happened in our regular season. And the reason these characters are seated this way is because the Lady of Lorien herself was a meager 17-14 in our round robin. Everyone fights everyone in these 32 characters that are in this bracket. We had them all fight each other as our quote-unquote regular season. And you can see here she had some nice key victories against Elendil, Azaghal, Glorfindel, Aragorn. But also some losses that she definitely should have won, right? Bard, Thorin, Balin, Ugluk. Her stats... Now, Galadriel is an interesting character on several different fronts, right? First of all, broken record for fans of the newest Rings of Power Amazon show. You can't think of Galadriel that way in this instance. We're going back to the books on Galadriel here. And that show did not do her honor in terms of her real character. Fight me in the comments if you want. You're wrong, right? Galadriel never really... Even going back to the First Age, find me an example where she was some sort of shield maiden. You can't do it. There's a vague reference to her being man-hearted and playing, games with the big boys, the heavy hitter, Noldorian elves of the First Age. Okay, so she's tough. We're not saying she's not tough. We're not saying she can't hold her own. But we're also saying that this is the Third Age version of Galadriel, diminished somewhat, as all elves were from the First Age, after their horrendous defeats of the First and kind of in the Second Age, right? So Galadriel by the Third Age is who she is in The Lord of the Rings. A wielder of a ring of power, not a swords chick, So that's what's borne out in her stats here. That's what her stats reflect. So look at her battle stats. Ferocity, 60. She's not an orc. She's not a troll. She's not going to be in the 90s with ferocity. But her stamina, she's one of the high elves of the First Age. She's got excellent stamina, 86. Good agility. Bad striking. Why does she have bad striking? She doesn't have a weapon. Her melee weapon is to pretty much beat stuff with her fists. Okay, that's not how she's wanting to fight. She's wanting to stand back and use her ring of power as a spellcaster, and rely on her ranged attack. 88 magic. Okay, that's what she's about. 70 accuracy, not bad, and 76 piercing. So if she's apt to hit you, and if she does, 76 is not bad. It's more of a blast effect. You can think of it, than a pinpoint archer attack. So she's not up there with certain elven archers in terms of piercing, but a very effective ranged attack. Defensively, high valor, good elusiveness, and maxed out spirit. So she can withstand damage based on that spirit alone. That's 1/3 of her ultimate ability to protect herself from harm once the enemy makes it through the whole battle tree, right? And scores a hit and scores a damaging hit on her. Look at the far right of the battle tree here, the flow. And if they roll successfully for melee damage, melee or ranged damage, she, using her spirit, is going to be able to withstand that. As we welcome T Rizzle to the show. How you doing, T?
Feeling fancy free.
Not away.
Good to see you. Hey.
We are just going through the correct version of Galadriel versus the factually incorrect version of Galadriel. Controversial topic, man. You got an opinion?
I wasn't here for all the controversy.
All good, man. All good. Moving right along. We try to put T Rizzle on the spot there. Have you even seen the Amazon show?
Oh, yeah, I've seen the Amazon show. Yeah.
Okay. Enough said, right?
There you go.
There we go. So, I kind of glanced a little bit over Faramir's character there, but we're going to pick him up right now as we bring up the old battle engine. So, psych, I don't have that ready yet. So, sorry, one more thing here before we jump into the battle engine. While I pull that up, guys, I was just going to say for Faramir, because as you just look at these two on your screen and think back to the events of the book, right? Galadriel should beat Faramir, right? And I think typically she would, but what I was driving at before I got distracted was, if we look at Faramir's stats here, sorry guys, let me get the right screen up. Okay, back to the bracket and back to the character card. Real fast. Check this out. Faramir. I think Galadriel was 17 and 14. Faramir's only a little worse than that, right? 15 and 16. With equally key victories. Now, Galadriel, better record. This is one of those where I think we have to just be honest and say Faramir probably could have been a 6 seed. So whereas Galadriel is maybe the best of the 5 seeds, Faramir, I think, is the worst of the 5 seeds and could have been a 6 seed. That happens sometimes in brackets, though. We're not going to get too hung up on it. I don't think it's a grotesque misseeding, because look at his key victories. Faramir, effective with a sword and effective with a bow, used it to slay Glorfindel, a 1 seed. Dane, a 2 seed. Olag High, a 3 seed. The Watcher, a 4 seed. So he can go toe-to-toe with anyone, right? He needs a couple lucky rolls. And his main skills are, again, with that bow. He's very accurate with that bow. He's not going to miss much. 80 accuracy and 69 piercing. But unlike Galadriel, he can also, with 84 stamina, 84 agility, 70 striking, and mediocre ferocity, he can wield a sword as well. So just wanted to point that out as we now bring up the battle engine. So thoughts on that, guys, while I pull up our fight?
I think Galadriel is like several of the characters, like when Gandalf was in the tournament and the other tournament, right? They don't necessarily have great defense, and so if you can get a shot in, you can hurt them, right? Saruman is that way, right? So. Yeah, but look at the magic and spirit. Wow.
Yeah, huge advantages there for Galadriel. Although with the range, so are they both going to want to use ranged here? It looks like Faramir in this fight would prefer melee.
Yeah.
And they're going to get to use their preferred attacks in these sort of shuffled battlefield conditions about 87% of the time.
Look at Galadriel's armor, 38. Okay, so if you can hit her with your sword, you can hurt her, and
yes,
so that's what Faramir's going to try to do.
Correct. All right. I think we are ready for our first fight of the night. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us fight. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with our first fight of the second night of the second round of our Rome tournament, Races of Middle-earth, we have Galadriel of Lothlorien against Faramir of Gondor and Ithilien. Elf against man, let us fight. First attack goes to Galadriel. Right off the bat, she's forced to use her less favorable weapon, the Craft of Melian. She engages but fails to hit. Back comes Faramir. Using the Sword of Gondor, cannot engage the wily she-elf. Back comes Galadriel. Engages, can't hit. Faramir. And they're dancing off the bat, circling each other. Engaging, failing to hit. Back and forth. First hit gets struck by Galadriel with the Elven Ring Ninja. hitting but failing to penetrate. And now Faramir cannot engage. Galadriel cannot engage. Faramir engages, can't hit. Galadriel hits! No damage with another blast from her elven ring. Even fight so far, no damage. Who will draw first blood? Faramir hits, cannot wound. Galadriel comes back, can't engage. Two wily characters, two very elusive characters, perhaps. Faramir's turn. Engages, can't hit. Galadriel, a hit and a wound, and she draws first blood with a slight smite. The Elven Ring Ninja, at range, strikes the first blow. Can Faramir counter? A hit and a wound right away! Slay!
Whoa!
Death stroke by the Ranger of Athelion, and Faramir pulls the upset.
Who was the great philosopher back in the past who said, if you can hit Galadriel with your sword, you could hurt her?
Don't quote me on it, but I think that would be Engine Chief. Yeah, that's an interesting.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man. Shit, I'm saying.
That pretty much sums it up. Huge upset there by Faramir. And yeah, we spent more time than we should have in the pregame saying, Galadriel really should win this fight. She's got an elven ring. Faramir does not. And that's why you play the games, right?
But also she was 17 and 14 in the regular season for just this reason, is if you can hit her, you can hurt her.
1000%. Yep. And really, I think that's fair. I think that's easily defensible based on the stats, and the stats are easily defensible based on the lore. Because there's a reason that Galadriel is not going to get herself in a sword fight with guys like Faramir, who did this for a living.
Up at the Battle of Pelennor Field.
What about Pelennor?
She wasn't there at Pelennor Fields because she couldn't have done much.
There are reasons for this, right? She put forth a lot of her power in the defense and the construction in the defense and the hiding of Lothlorien. That's kind of what her ring is there to do. As we welcome Farmer David. How you doing, David? We're just talking about a huge upset here.
Hey, what's
Not
up?
that
Sorry.
huge.
Faramir takes down Galadriel with a death stroke.
Wow. Super cool.
Yep.
That was the first of two fights, right?
First fight of the night.
Cool.
Yeah, so not as controversial, really. Me and Engine Chief were just explaining this. The outcome's really not as controversial as it would at first seem, given the two characters, right? One of who has an elvish ring, but we were just saying there's reasons with her elvish ring she avoids fighting master swordsmen like Faramir, who does this for a living, Ranger of Gondor, hybrid warrior, and sure enough, Faramir is able to exploit her total lack of armor and hits her with the Sword of Gondor for the death stroke.
Very cool.
So let's get back to our bracket here, and let's give credit where it is due. And that would be to the upset-minded Faramir. So Faramir is going to advance to the Sweet 16, and Faramir is going to take on the winner of Gimli and Boromir. Perhaps a brother against brother friendly fire in the Sweet 16. Although Gimli's going to have something to say about that. Should be a good one either way. Now, turning the page to our second fight of the night, we have Thrain against the Barrow-wight. So, two perhaps lesser-known characters here. Thrain, of course, Thorin's father. So, Thorin, son of Thrain, son of Thror. is the heir to the kingship of Erebor, of the Lonely Mountain, right? So in the events of The Hobbit, obviously by that time, Gandalf has sort of helped the dwarves, do what Gandalf does, right? Give them a little kick in the butt when they need it and say, hey, it might be time, all things considered, in the grand scheme of the happenings of Middle-earth, for you guys to put together a little quest, right? And as Gandalf later says about Bilbo, all I did was give him a little bit of a nudge out the front door, right? Well, the dwarves had been actually wanting several times for generations since their eviction from Erebor to go back and get revenge, right? Several of them had been chomping at the bit. First, Thror himself in his old age. So Thror was the king under the mountain when Smaug first appeared. And when they were all evicted and they wander out to Dunland and, are basically working as blacksmith for the Dunlandings because it's the only work they can find. And, trying to dig basically little hobbit holes in the hills of Dunland. Of course they want revenge, right? But they don't have an army. And they don't have really any Q2s. Like, you gotta remember, all their best armor and weapons, most of them anyway, were in the Lonely Mountain. They're left behind. So by the time we get to Thrain here on the right-hand side of your screen, Thrain's an interesting character, lesser known. Basically what you need to know about him is he has the last Dwarven Ring of Power. So what does that do? We don't really see in any of the books or the movies what a Dwarven Ring of Power would do in battle. Except in the war of the orcs and the dwarves. And again, it's not, you can't think of it as Thrain is wielding the ring in the battle. We don't see anything about, magic fire spells coming out of his fist or something at the battle of Azabul Bizar outside the gates of Moria. But what we do see, we find out later that he does in fact carry that ring for his father. So Thrain's father, Thror, is slain in that battle. And during the battle, that makes Thrain king under the mountain, and Thorin's, of course, fighting in that battle too. Dain comes from the Iron Hills. They end up winning that battle. They end up winning that war at the Battle of Azanul Bizar. Dain decapitates Azog. The fight's over, and Thrain is able to save the ring. But it's a little bit of a horror story too, because after that he starts to go fey. And the lore tells us really that the Dwarven rings aren't for, making you super fell in battle. Although they do enhance mind, body, and spirit. The lore also says, though, that each of those Dwarven rings really fundamentally is kind of think of it as the initial investment for a Dwarven treasure hoard, right? It's the seed upon which the dwarves can create new kingdoms and reassimilate their wealth in mining. So the 7 Dwarven rings, to my knowledge, drop in the comments if I'm wrong on this, because I think it's not 100% known, but that's mainly the power of the Dwarven rings, is to create wealth and to safeguard kingdoms, not totally unlike Galadriel's ring. So the interesting question I thought to explore was, well, what does that do to Thrain's battle stats? Well, as you can see, he's a 6 seed. That's not the greatest. That's not the greatest seed, but it's also not terrible, right? He's the 6th best dwarf that we have in this field. His record was 14-17. He has some good key victories. He slew Durin, that's a 1 seed. Azaghal, that's a 2 seed. Círdan, a 4. And Boromir, I believe, also a 4. Some good victories, right? But he lost more than he won. Some bad-ish losses. Imrahil. And the dude he's fighting tonight. So he lost against the Barrow Wight and to Grishnak. But as you look at his stats here, like all members of the Dwarven race, he is very good on defense, 84 Valor, 84 Toughness, 82 Armor. But unlike other dwarves, look at his Spirit. 82 Spirit. So this guy's not only stout on defense, except for elusiveness. Dwarves they're not into dodging. right? They're into taking heat and letting their armor do the talking. But 82 spirit is the best spirit amongst all the dwarves, and the reason for that is Thrain has one of the, in fact, the last dwarvish ring. And then a little bit on offense too. 65 is a little better than the other dwarves have in the magic category for the same reason. Now, 65 still isn't anything huge in terms of overall magical capability, but that's how we factor in that dwarven ring into the fight. So interesting character here with Thrain. Very good on defense. Going to be tough to hurt. Switching over to the Battle White here. Not quite as good of a record. 13 and 18 in our round robin preseason. But he did slay Elendil and Aragorn and the Olagai and Círdan. The Barrow White, of course, being an undead spirit of the Barrow Downs, is a little bit of a what do you call it? Like first of all, a tough character to seed in terms of the stats, but also, he's a ghost. He's literally a ghost. So his main skill is going to be in the sneaky stuff, elusiveness, stamina, 88 and 90 in those respectively. 85 dexterity, very difficult to hit at range. Not that Thrain's really going to want to do that. But he's got 80 valor, 88 elusiveness, 90 stamina. So engaging the enemy is not going to be hard. And he's got a decent attack once he does that, right? So if we come back over here, it's worth pointing out those offensive characteristics, offensive battle stats, I should say, at the top of the screen. Agility and stamina. Barrow White's got elite stamina. That's the ability to maintain strength in combat. And that's going to determine 1/3 of his damage dealt. So he's a little more effective ultimately than you would think, based mostly on that stamina. Thoughts on this one, guys, while I pull up the old battle engine. Don't everyone talk at once.
I'm doing my best.
I'm waiting so I can overtalk. I think we go. I don't know, man. That Barrow thing. I think I want to go with the Barrow. Give me the Barrow White.
One vote for the Barrow
obviously
White.
Biased toward Thrain, but for some reason I feel like Phantoms are not his forte, if you will.
Not
I
doing
just feel
matchup.
like he's already kind of a cursed character, so I don't like it.
Indeed.
Plus, I'm
So
pretty
I'm
sure
rooting
only
for the
one of
Barrow
them
White
stayed.
because dwarves have dominated this tournament. We got to lose a dwarf here.
Yeah, that's true too. Dwarves have been dominating.
They both like melee.
Yep.
And you see the major difference, though, is Thrain has better armor than the White does. So everything else being about the same, you'd think that Thrain would outslug him here.
Yeah.
But they're equal seeds for a reason. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, I mean, so that elusiveness is one thing to maybe look for, and that's his ability to avoid being engaged in melee, right? So if we pull this back up right quick, elusiveness is, is your dodginess, right? Your ability to avoid getting engaged. It's the counter stat of agility, right? So it's going to be Thrain's agility against the White's elusiveness, which is going to be an advantage for the White. But if and when ultimately Thrain can engage the Barrow White, as Engine Chief said, yeah, I don't. It's not looking good for him. But he'll be able to dodge a lot of these blows. You got to think. Right, I'm just looking.
Yeah, I don't think of dwarves as particularly agile.
That's
I
right.
guess I guess wraiths aren't not that agile either.
Well,
good.
wraiths are
Pretty good.
sort of ethereal. That's their agility. Is kind of like, how do you even hit a wraith? Well, in the books, all we see is Tom Bombadil kind of do some magic, right? And that's kind of how you hit a wraith. But later, of course, we see that the certain weapons can also do the trick. Now, Thrain doesn't technically have one of those, as far as we know, but he does have a dwarven blade, the Sword of Erebor. So, old school, powerful blade, and it should be enough. I'm just looking at the. Sorry, I want to take one last look here at the, what is it called? Agility. Someone help me find agility. It's top 1. It's blue. Okay, sorry. 68 agility against 88 elusiveness. So you see him right there, right? I'm not sure you guys can see my
Yeah, I can see him.
mouse. Sorry about that. Yeah, though that's the key stat that I'm going to watch here. But without further ado, should we see what happens?
We should.
Then let us fight. In our second fight of the second night of the second round of the Rome tournament, Races of Middle-earth summer tournament, we have Thrain of the Naugri against the Barrow White of the Undead. Let us fight. First attack to Thrain using the Sword of Erebor. Cannot engage. Might be a theme in this fight. Let's stay tuned and find out. Barrow White counters. A hit and a wound, only very slight damage. With the Death Fog, his ranged attack. Doesn't do much damage because of the Dwarven armor. Also could be a theme in this one. Let's stay tuned. Back comes Thrain. Can't engage. The Barrow White attacks. Engages, can't hit. First blood by Thrain using a hatchet toss. So his ranged attack draws first blood, or I guess whites don't really have blood, but first damage. Maybe knocks off a little couple chips of bone, right? Back comes the old Barrow White. Death Fog. Misses. Thrain engages, can't hit. The Barrow White engages, can't hit. Back and forth, they're dancing through 10 rounds. There's a slight hit by the Barrow White with his undead clouds. Very little damage done to Thrain, but advantage to the Barrow White through 10. Back comes Thrain. He attacks. Can't engage. The Barrow White engages, can't hit. Thrain engages. Can't hit. Barrow White can't even engage. Thrain engages. Nothing. And they're dancing. Back and forth through 20 rounds. Both proving very elusive. A hit there by the Barrow White. No damage. Tink! Off the Dwarven armor. Now, Thrain with an opportunity. He attacks. Can't engage the wily White. Barrow White becomes nothing. And they're dancing again through 25 rounds. Back and forth they go. Not even engaging. Not even engaging. They're just circling. Perhaps wondering what their attack should be. A hit there by the Barrow White with the Death Fog, but it draws no damage from the armored dwarf. Now back comes Thrain. Engages. No damage. Can't hit. And they're dancing through 36 rounds. This could be a long one, guys. But back and forth they go through 40 rounds. Still only a slight advantage to the Barrow White. Who's going to draw next blood here? Or bone chips, as the case may be. They're engaging. They can't do any damage. Neither one can do any damage. Back and forth they go. An engagement there by Thrain. He throws a dagger. Can't do anything. A hit and a wound. Only slight damage there by Thrain with his... Again, he seems to be... Sorry, not dagger. He's doing his hatchet toss from range, and that's the only thing that's worked so far. Not much working for the Barrow White either, though, making it a fair fight through 53 rounds. Back and forth they go through 60 rounds. They're just dancing, failing to engage. A hit there by the Barrow White. No damage. Tink off the Dwarven armor. Back and forth they go. No damage either way through 70 rounds. Slight pause for a drink. Tell me what you think, fellas. Not a lot of action in this one.
A lot of action, just no damage.
It's like all the girls I asked to dance in high school. Failed to engage.
They avoided dancing with you, right?
Yeah, sure.
A dance with no action. Story of your high school life. And a hit and a wound by the Barrow White, taking Thrain down to 18, heavily hewn. And the Barrow White, with the Death Fog, finally gets through the Dwarven armor. Heavy advantage to the White now. But you are never out of the fight. Back comes Thrain. Attacks, can't engage. The White counters, engages, can't hit. And back and forth they go through 80 rounds. Another hit by the Barrow White, no damage. Thrain can't even engage most of the time. Back and forth they go. Approaching 90 rounds. Dancing back and forth. A hit there by the Barrow White, no damage. A hit there by Thrain, no damage. Throws another hatchet. Thrain just can't get anything going in this one. A hit and a wound by the Barrow White. Only slight damage. Not enough. Thrain hanging in there with another slight tink there. Again, can only ever hit the White with his hatchet toss. Maybe this is the kind of sword that he's got that doesn't have the old, Numenorian enchantments against the Witch King's army, right? You need a Barrow White blade like Merry and Pippin had. The dwarves didn't make those, obviously. Back and forth they go through 100 rounds. A hit by the Barrow White, no damage off the armor. Back and forth they go. Back and forth they go, dancing. It is a dance of death. Back and forth they go through 110 rounds. We're going to break a record tonight.
Yeah.
A hit in the world by Thrain! And he's back in the fight. Again with the hatchet toss, though. Only when he's forced. At a certain point, he's got to bail out, man. We're too close for missiles in this one, man. We're switching to guns.
Who do people think is going to win this?
Whew.
Rain will come back.
Rain will come back, huh? I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't really either, but it's got to be the Barrow White, man. It's just he has. I've seen only one successful attack with his actual weapon, or was his one attack with the hatchet toss? I can't remember. Back and forth they go through 118. A hit and a wound by Thrain.
There we go.
The fight is even, and the dwarf is back in it.
He's learning, man.
Could we have a raging comeback? Back and forth, each dancing in the 121st round. A hit by the White, not enough off the armor. Back comes Thrain. A hit and a wound, and he takes the lead. Thrain hanging tough, and he's now in a slight lead with the White. In the 124th round, the White tries to engage. He engages, can't hit. Back comes Thrain, engages, nothing. The White, and they're dancing. They're back to dancing. They're circling. A hit and a wound by the White to retake the lead in the 130th round. We have an instant classic here, gentlemen.
Yeah, this is a
We'll
classic.
get the win.
I know where you slice it. It's a hatchet job.
It is. A hit there by Thrain, no damage. The Barrow White. A hit, no damage. Back and forth. A hit and a wound by Thrain. Not enough damage really there. Tosses another hatchet. Back and forth they go. A hit and a wound by the White isn't enough. Slay.
Womp womp.
And the Barrow White wins.
It was just a rope-a-dope there. Barrow White had it the whole way.
Wow.
Oh, man, are you saying this was like a Jake Paul fight?
Like a what?
A Jake Paul fight.
Oh, well,
Just
yeah.
string us along the whole time, you know? Nothing, sorry. We'll catch up on that later. But it's a social media
I
piece.
got you,
Isn't it?
Cappy.
Say it again. I didn't catch that.
I hear you. I caught it.
I don't want peace. I want problems always.
Yeah, you guys just want problems. That is our last fight. Let's go to the bracket and let's advance our characters. So, let's see here. We've got the Battle White advancing in that fight, defeating Thrain to take on the winner of Dane. Whoa. Let's get back over to the right. The Barrow White advances to take on the winner of Dane and the Olog High, which we'll see tomorrow night. And so, score one tonight for Evil. Round of applause for Engine Chief. And score another one for the Race of Men. Round of applause for, who'd that be? Patty Man.
They needed it because they were doing poorly up until now.
Yeah, even this thing up a little bit. All right, couple good ones tonight, man. Thanks everyone for jumping on. That is all the fights that we have for tonight. But as always, your promotional opportunity. Check us out at MiddleEarthMadness.com. Hit up all the various little pages there. See any fights that you missed on the events page. Link to our YouTube page. Follow us on all the social medias, whatever your jam is out there. We're on all of them. So tell a friend, hey man, check us out and keep supporting, trying to grow this thing as much as we can, just mostly organically because, I haven't hired a social media whiz yet. If you are a social media whiz and you like not getting paid that much, hit us up. I'm a marketing expert, guys. I can totally feel this working.
Just catching it now, but did you just wear that shirt today on purpose, or is this a tribute shirt?
Yeah, I had to, man. We lost Ozzy today, so
No.
he obviously did not take care of himself that much over the years, and you have to figure that's a contributing factor. But
made it a very long time for how hard he lived.
Yeah, seriously, 76 years deliberately not taking care of himself. So yeah, man, ever since the Sabbath days, he wrote some good stuff, man, and I still jam Crazy Train all the time. My girls love Crazy Train. So Zach Wild version or the Randy Rhoads version. You can't match the Randy Rhoads solo, but Zach has style all his own too, and man, there's some good shows, some good stuff. So R.I.P. Ozzy Osbourne.
I'm not like a medical expert or anything, but dude had Parkinson's, and I don't know if that has anything to do with taking care of yourself or not.
They said, well, who's they, right? I'm not a medical expert either, but the doctor that weighed in on the cause of death that I was reading says that there is, brain damage induced Parkinson's, because Muhammad Ali had it from brain damage, but Michael J. Fox had it unrelated to any brain damage. And apparently if the drugs, give you brain damage, then it can cause Parkinson's, maybe. But again, no expert. You guys drop it in the comments if I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, I don't know. And his last show that he did a couple weeks ago, he all the proceeds of that went towards Parkinson's research. So I don't know about causes of Parkinson's or whatever, but
Yeah.
he definitely did his part before passing. So good on him for all that.
Legend, man. Yeah, it's just it's hard to get one good band, as we know, to take off, and he did it with 4. So Granted, once you got the famous name, it helps. But man, yeah. R.I.P. Ozzy. All right, guys. That's it for tonight. Until the next time, let us remember what Gandalf said, shall we? And that is that you never get to the morning except through the shadow. And where there is light, there is always hope. You are never out of the fight. We'll see you guys next time.